Okay, hey, Mark.
I feel a bunch of emotions. 2+ years ago, I knew that this 40th was coming. And I thought it was worth taking the time to mark the milestone. What it was going to be, I didn't know. At the same time, I was archiving everything that I'd had. So the archiving fed into what became the docuseries. I thought it was an opportune time to look back while I'm always looking ahead. And here we are today. This isn't the John story. It's all of us, past and present members. I think telling our truth is legit so that others who aspire to do the same thing can see that the road it's not always rainbows and unicorns. That's the only way to tell this story, is to tell the honest to goodness truth. This premiere is different because I'm not just a supporting actor in someone's movie. The band are the star of the show, and it's really a life story.
You know, I don't want this to end, so have fun, watch it. Thank you for being here. This is incredible.
And remember, after the episode, don't miss that sneak peek or the special Q&A.
So the documentary premiered at South by Southwest. Were you nervous to watch it?
A little bit, just a little bit.
Why?
I had seen a couple early cuts. I hadn't seen the finished product. The only part that I was considering was, oh, I wonder how the folks are going to react.
The energy of the band, undeniable.
You know, you're in the midst of 1,700 people, right? But now you're in the audience and you go, oh, you know, not that I could change the outcome, but that was the only little twinge.
And people loved it.
They did love it.
Let's take a step back. When you decided you wanted to be a musician, as a career.
In my hometown, we had to walk to high school. You'd have that half hour to walk with a buddy who was in my band, and I was already just solely focused on one thing. Now, granted, what benefited me was the drinking age was 18. And why I say that is you could be 16 and 17 honing your skills in front of a real audience in a nightclub where everything and everyone are equal. You're in there with guys that are making records and guys that are starting out. But because you could be 16 and 17, there was no great responsibilities yet. I could sleep in my mom and dad's house. There was always food on the table and shoes on my feet.
So how did they take the news when you said, Mom and Dad, this is what I want to do?
They were supportive. Their attitude was, look, if you're gonna be out X nights a week playing in a bar, at least we know where you are. And when they saw that kind of focus, they were like, you know, as long as you get up for school tomorrow, you gotta go. You know, so they were supportive. And remember, by the time I was 18, I wasn't playing anyone else's songs anymore. So there was that serious step forward too.
And so they trusted you.
They did.
And we look at you now, decades later, uber successful, beyond successful for what any band would want success to be. But it wasn't easy. You had a lot of doors slammed in your face.
Sure.
That you actually had to go door to door to get your record played. So where did the grit come from?
Probably my folks, compounded by the fact that we were from a certain place at a certain time.
New Jersey is more than meets the eye. A place to study, a place to learn, a place to prepare for the future. And sometimes New Jersey is a place to dream.
And being born into the Kennedy era,
We have a long way to go in the space race. We started late, but this is the new ocean.
my parents believed that they were going to the moon, and they instilled in us that kind of work ethic. I think that was the same story for David's parents, Richie's parents, Alec and Tico's parents. So we came from that kind of working class background where all things seemed possible. I was relentless before there was a band. Quit my own cover band in order to do only original material, even if it wasn't mine I was doing in the first band. I had to learn how to do it. So I joined someone else's band just as their lead singer in order to learn the craft of songwriting. Short-lived, but nonetheless, you start to cut your teeth in that. I wasn't the guy you wanted opening for you because I would do anything to win the night. It wasn't to hurt the headlining band, but it was like, I've got to win hearts. I got to do something. I got to light myself on fire.
And that's when he started his journey. And then he was in one band, and then after that, he called me up. I would go in and do sessions with him. When he came up with Runaway, I was like, young, gung, 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 gung. He's like, that's good. I go, I know it's good.
All right, we're at the power station. This is basically where it all began.
It's where I was born.
So what do you remember about your time here?
This is a legendary place. I was frustrated that nobody would take my cassette tape with Runaway. And I got in the car, put it in the freight elevator, went down, found WAPP, banged on the glass window, and says to a DJ, I've got something to play you. Played it for the guy, he says, that's a hit. I said, I know. Why doesn't anyone else listen? And he started playing it on the radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to greet some gentlemen who are from New Jersey. Please greet Bon Jovi.
And then you signed with Mercury.
Yeah.
You had to assemble a band. How do you assemble a band? What's your thought process behind that?
Well, I knew the kind of guy I was looking for. The influences I had were going to depend on great, clean kind of sounding players that could sing. Writing would be of benefit. Those two things appealed to me. David, my keyboard player, since we're in high school together. David Bryan, you know, was the greatest friend a guy could ever ask for. In and out of the band with me when I was a kid. When I quit my own cover band, you know, he went back to college. He was thinking, okay, that's the end of that. I called him back when I had Runaway and a couple more years of songwriting under my belt.
I said, listen, I love pre-med, but I'll give this like a year. It looks like it's way more fun than being a doctor.
Tico Torres was the drummer I dreamt about, but there was no way I could ever get him. He was 9 years older than me. He was established. In fact, he was in a band that had a record deal. So he was way down the road.
John came over and played me his tape of Runaway, and we had a little jam session. I said, this kid's a star. He had an aura about him.
Alex Such was making a lot of money playing other people's music, so to go from that to zero, I didn't think it was going to appeal to him. And Richie came to see me one night.
And he came up to me and says, I want to be your lead guitar player.
What are you, crazy?
Dick, it worked.
Right.
And so, you know, I hit it off with him. We thought we could write together. He obviously could sing well and play great. So I thought, okay, that completes the puzzle. And that was the band. I thought it would be for 3 weeks because I expected all of them to go back to their lives. 40 years later.
I was gonna say it's been a long 3 weeks. Like the date that never ends.
Yeah, right.
Hi, we're Bon Jovi, and this was the debut single on the brand new first video off our first album called Runaway.
But what was it like back in those days? Recording, touring, performing?
It was fun. We were young. We were incredibly resilient. We learned even more so now that we were a cohesive band on those first 2 records, more than not an opening act. One day with a heavy metal band and one day with a country act. So you better learn how to be a great entertainer. You know, and so we learned from this one and that one and this one and that one. And so by the time our 3rd record came around, we really knew how to do it.
New Jersey metal has made it to the top. Our new #1, You Give Love a Bad Name, from Bon Jovi.
Did you ever think about quitting? Did
No.
it ever cross your mind?
No.
When you're out there pounding the pavement, door to
No,
door,
I was so
like
young. I was
you didn't
so
know any
young.
better.
You didn't know any better. And the beautiful thing about it, without a plan B, was every step of the way you thought that was the big time. Playing original songs in a nightclub, you thought was the big time. Getting a record deal that first time you thought was the big time. Having Slippery When Wet, of course, you thought was the big time. There were still other mountains to climb. Every step of the way.
Check this out.
So that was a beautiful mindset, you know, just keep going.